If the nutrition's not in our soil, then where's it going to be? It can't be in our food. That avocado may look beautiful. It doesn't necessarily mean it has the potassium it used to have in it, among a lot of other nutrients. So what do we do? Have you ever cared about someone that you lost? Someone really, really close to you? Have you ever stood by and felt helpless? This is the start of my journey, and many years later, this is the reason why I'm the CEO and founder, chemical engineer and nutritionist of Upgraded Formulas. I realized that I personally needed to take action. I really believe that we're here all with our special gifts, our special educations, and vocations. And for me, this is where everything starts. I lost my mother in her mid-60s. She was really healthy by most standards, I would say. But there were some things that the doctors at the time, not having nutritional wisdom, the one she went to at least, were not able to help her with. Because of this, she got on medications. I'd helped her lose about 20 pounds. And yet she felt better, and then suddenly she was gone. Aneurysm and just gone. About this time, I started to lose my short-term memory, maybe in part because of the trauma. But it was very black and white to me. My memory had been kind of textbook, perfect in a lot of ways. In college, I had studied chemical engineering. Before that, I had been always seeking challenges. I was a quarterback. I played football. I was a wrestler at a really, really high level. And what really stuck with me about this whole thing is, unlike those problems that I'd been able to solve through discipline, hard work, through showing up, through figuring out the best route, this was not solvable. So I started to think about root causes. As an engineer, specifically a chemical engineer, we have basically a minor in chemistry, a minor in physics, a minor in math, and it leads you to be very logical. But I was always very philosophical about things too, and I wanted to find a root cause. It's the only thing that really made sense. So I started to think about what we all are made of. And it turns out we're all made of elements, right? The periodic chart in chemistry. So I started to think about this, and I started to do testing on myself. Spent thousands and thousands in testing. Luckily, I was working as an engineer at this point, and I had a good salary. But I was really frustrated, really pissed off, really upset because none of it was actionable, it seemed like. I would get blood draws, I would do saliva, I would do urine, all these different samples, all sorts of samples, stool samples, all these different things. You're checking for parasites, you're checking for, you name it. And I wasn't satisfied with any of the feedback, any of the results. I finally found a hair analysis. I went through a couple different labs, and I found one. I finally also got a great consultation, which was key. Someone that really understood things between the numbers. And that's part of what we do today as a diagnostic tool to just figure out where where to go and where to start. Because what I've noticed in so many of the top people in health is that we're still guessing. We're not really testing. We're still guessing. Do I actually need fill in the blank supplement? Whether that's magnesium or selenium or copper or manganese or vitamin D or NAC. What do I actually need it, and how much do I need? And if it's possible to test, what's the best method? What's the most efficient method too? Because time is really, really essential as well. So I started to think of this from just as practical of a root cause approach as possible. Started to think about what it would take to have my mind perform optimally, because I just had big plans for helping to change the world one way or another. I knew that was a path. And many of you probably feel the same way. You probably feel like, hey, I'm here to do more than I'm currently able to do because my energy level sets the bar. It's the ceiling for how much I can do. I try to do more, but I get stopped here. And that can cause your relationship to fail. That can cause your business to fail. That can cause any number of things to just not work out the way you truly intended them to work out. So I've started to think about this and just kind of draw inspiration from all these different areas, right? Things beyond myself. And years went by, research, working as an engineer, saving money, and knowing that there was something growing inside of me that really just had to be dealt with, had to be used, had to be extruded through me into something that could help with this problem. So I realized after doing that first hair test and several more after that I was not absorbing key minerals specifically, not vitamins, but minerals and elements, other elements that I'd been taking for over a year and a half, 6 days a week or so. I thought that this really shouldn't be the case. See, by this point, because I'd been a wrestler and I'd had to watch my weight, I'd started supplementing and learning about nutrition at 12 or 13, 14, somewhere in this range. And I started to think about it from this perspective as an athlete. I later became a nutritionist. I started thinking about all these problems that so many of my patients were having. And I started to see so many commonalities that seemed inevitable as we aged. And I thought about, well, how do we either slow it down, or better yet, how do we reverse it or stop it? How do we make hair, skin, nails look good? How do we make our brain function work? How do we prevent early death? How do we extend life, at least the healthy lifespan? And I think I was just fueled from so many directions that eventually I was just destined to find some sort of answer. The answer I found, given my background as a chemical engineer, where we're trained in absorption and how to make industrial processes work more efficiently, either by deconstructing them or by making them much more optimal. Well, this is where I really started to focus, because I knew if I was taking 600 or 800 milligrams of several types of magnesium and I still was chronically deficient in magnesium, as well as sodium and potassium, as well as a bunch of different nutrients, then there just had to be something with absorption, because I was fit. I had a six-pack most of my life after wrestling for so many years. And yet I wasn't healthy. I felt like I had brain fog. I'm sure most people can relate. You can relate to this, can't you? And you're thinking, well, look, I didn't drink last night. I slept well. I didn't do anything out of the normal, and yet my brain really isn't working. I've gotten sunlight. I woke up in time. I'm synced with circadian rhythm. I'm doing a lot of things well. There's no mold in my house. There's all these different things, right? Environmental, right? The environment influences us, and we influence the environment, certainly. So I started to think about this and work on it and work on it and work on it. And I realized that we just needed a much better solution. And I'll talk to you today about fatigue, disease, hormones, and depression, and how minerals play a huge role in this. But yeah, first, my name is Barton Scott, and thanks for watching this. Thanks for being part of this broadcast. So yeah, let's jump right in. So the official title is Macros versus Micros, and I say that because so many of us are so focused on just our macros, right? And while those are incredibly important, ultimately it's what's in our food that matters. And if in 1993 the United Nations got together during a very special meeting around health, and they found that at the time they estimated about 85% of the richest soils in the world were depleted significantly. So that leads to the common fact, which is, well, what do we do? Because clearly, if the nutrition's not in our soil, then where's it going to be? It can't be in our food. So that tomato, well, a lot of you are like, I don't eat nightshades. I get it. That avocado may look beautiful. It doesn't necessarily mean it has the potassium it used to have in it, among a lot of other nutrients. So what do we do? Well, in the world of, in the keto world, we've known for quite a while that supplements are important. But understanding specifically which ones you need are also so important. Yeah, so, all right. Well, how does this play a role in fatigue? Well, fatigue is something I've seen in 1,000+ patients looking at hair analyses that we've done through upgraded formulas. We do testing, we do consultations, and we do supplements that I designed as a chemical engineer that are more absorbable than anything I could find. So that is to say that they work when used appropriately. And it really starts with testing and not guessing. So back to fatigue. Across the board, in almost every case, I see so many people that are eating a healthy diet, otherwise, trying really hard in life to be healthy and to have good energy levels and be able to really conquer life. I see so many people, probably 90% of people, struggle with some level of adrenal insufficiency, or you could say suboptimal adrenal activity. So what do the adrenals need most? It's not ashwagandha, although herbs help. They certainly do, but those you'll find, if you haven't already, will move the needle about 10% or so. They'll lessen symptoms of fatigue, they'll give you something to do, but they won't restore you. The only way to restore you is to remember we're all elemental. So the only way to restore you is to actually restore you. We have to put the minerals, the particles back together. We have to give them to your body in a way that your body sees, recognizes, understands, and can implement, right? Can actually use. This is the problem. This is the absorption problem. So a big part of what I realized was particle size. While it wasn't the only thing, it was a big part of it. We simply had to digest everything to get it into the mitochondria of our blood cells. So I started to think about, well, how do we make this small enough to actually get in the blood cells? And fast forward years and years, about 8 years start to finish, 5 years with serious focus. We now have a whole line of incredible mineral products that can meet a lot of these needs. Some are potassium, and these are the ones that are needed for combating fatigue primarily. Potassium, magnesium, and sodium. Those are the currency that your adrenal glands spend in. Those are little triangular shaped organs that are on top of your kidneys. And these operate a lot like a brake and lever with the thyroid. So assuming everything else is working well, and even if it isn't, your adrenals have to have enough of that currency to spend in so that your thyroid can rev up as much as it needs to, right? So once you fix this problem, then the other areas that you also want to be looking at simultaneously are your hormones as well. And what are the building blocks of hormones? Well, the building blocks of hormones are fats, yeah, but also the micros within those macros, the minerals, the elements, and the amino acids too. But the most irreplaceable thing that we find as we're fasting, I did a 5-day fast recently, for example, water, minerals, a little bit of black coffee, and some salt. And I just took all of our minerals, and I felt really, really good because I took the minerals and that my thyroid needed, that my adrenals needed, and I was able to burn fat and really kind of completely provide my body what it needed. I felt great. I never felt smarter at the end of 5 days. Ketones were very, very high, about 4.5, and just felt great. The reason I say that is because had I not done that, I stopped eating on Sunday. I didn't eat again until Friday. Now, as with all of this, consult a medical professional who you can work with one-on-one and whose opinion you really, really trust. But I was able to work, a full week. My days are usually 8 p.m. to about 8 a.m. to about 8 p.m. When I'm finally actually done with work. And yeah, it was interesting. I was able to sustain energy this whole time. So I don't think it would have been possible had I not done this approach. Hormone balancing is really, really key too. Now, whether it's blood sugar, whether it's the currencies that our adrenals need to actually produce energy, electrical energy in the body, all of this you can see feeds back to what's the foundational layer. See, if we have minerals, if we have all the elements, let's just call it a broad group of elements, because there's things in there like vanadium, trace amounts of that help with blood sugar as well. And then, we have chromium, which a lot of people are very familiar with. Then we have things that are, maybe less known, like manganese, more well-known like zinc. All of these things contribute to a healthy blood sugar, which really impacts everything. So we created a product there too, as well. Because these are root cause needs that if you don't address them, it's a compounding effect. So, it's been said, for example, Linus Pauling said, he was a winner of the Nobel Peace Prize twice in two different categories, but he said, every you can trace every sickness, every disease, every ailment to mineral deficiency. It's a pretty broad statement. I'll say it one more time. You can trace every sickness, disease, and ailment to mineral deficiency. So what's happening right now with the current virus climate, for example? What a lot of people are doing, and this is just a bonus that I want to add in, a lot of people are taking zinc and they're not respecting and they're not testing, and they're displacing their copper levels. When that happens, do you know what that causes? What it causes is a predisposition for bacterial infections, which then makes it more likely, now that your overall immune system is obviously weaker, and that on its own is bad. Your overall immune system is weaker. Now you're more susceptible to a viral infection. So we created, knowing this years ago, created a supplement that anyone can take called a peak thyroid that has a balanced level of copper and zinc in it amongst a couple other minerals. Whether you're on the high end or the low end of the spectrum of thyroid, or whether you kind of go back and forth, I wanted to create something that anyone could take because, again, root cause, root solution. And this is really key for hormone production. So to go back to zinc and copper, right? So zinc and copper have a real impact on your hormones. It's a particular ratio that we look at, and it tells us quite a bit. You know, a lot of people, as you might know that zinc is important for testosterone levels, right? But everyone, both men and women, want healthy estrogen. Men without enough estrogen can seem detached, you could say. So you need the copper in there. Copper is also related to creativity. So zinc is so high levels of zinc, I'll say it like this, are correlated with intellectualism. High levels of copper are creativity, but if it's too high, it's mood swings, bipolar disorder, things like that, or symptoms such as those that appear similar as those would. So this is a delicate balance, and the point I'm really trying to make is whether it's that or whether it's boron. Boron, for example, really affects the way estrogen is used in the body. Boron is very synonymous with intelligence as well. So we having an optimal mind is something that is really, really key for all of us to be able to wake up, because collectively, and I can't think of a better time to say this, we all need to be doing our best to do our own work, to just be the best version of ourselves so that we can influence positively everyone else around us in a way that really helps all of us, right? Because as hyper-connected as we all are now, I mean, think about the 2,000 or so people that are the core group, that if you attended and you came live last year to see, the KetoCon exhibition, then, I mean, imagine this core group, imagine all of us, if we're at a certain frequency or a little bit higher, a little bit lower, what an impact that has, right? It's astounding how connected we are in this world. So one of my biggest, if we really take a moment to zoom out, is I've thought from, again, the root cause, how do we make a planetary shift, a planetary impact? Well, we have to physically feel well and for our mind to work well. And our minds have to work well for us to be able to innovate, and we desperately need innovation across every sector. No matter what type of work you do, we need innovation. We need you at your best. And that's something I deeply believe. I know it sounds kind of hokey to say, but God, I mean, I'd be hard pressed to think of something that I think about and care about more deeply. We really do need to be at our best. We need to be I mean, there's just no other way. We have to be doubling down on the things that we are giving, that we are naturally given, and then just investing in ourselves in a way that we build a better body and brain, right? So when we don't feed our body what it needs, and the body on a cellular level starts to drop frequency. This is measurable. When this happens, our organs don't perform the way they could or should, which is just this, you can see very quickly. If I had a whiteboard, I would draw this out for you and show all the network effects, all the arrows coming off of this. There's good news too, though. Imagine once you start to really like picture a sun, and now it's kind of glowing. It's kind of glowing. Some days it glows pretty well. Some days it doesn't glow that well. This is how most people's performance really is. Imagine if that was 5x, 10x on some days, and just drastically improved across the board. That's really been the goal. That's the goal for upgraded formulas. You can check out more, obviously, on the website, and you can drop in your email to stay in touch, because we're putting out more articles and more videos on this all the time. But yeah, even if you feel like you're set in everything you need in health, just, coach us and follow us. I would really appreciate that support, because I do think we're doing great work in the world. The other aspect that I want to talk about today is disease. Disease, we touched on it already. Every ailment, every disease, every sickness, it's rooted in mineral deficiency, right? But what does that really mean? Let's get really specific. Well, stress, right? This is something specific to the current climate. Stress, alcohol, sugar, they each deplete minerals. Stress depletes minerals, and so does alcohol. Alcohol depletes minerals. Sugar is just so overwhelmingly, and I know this audience, more so than anyone I speak to, really, really gets that, which I love. But it's amazing what all of these have in common. Do you know what they all have in common? They all, as a root cause, they all affect your electrical activity in your body, because they cause a shift in your blood pH. And they eventually cause a shift in your neurotransmitters too. So what does that mean? Well, since they disrupt our blood pH, it influences every aspect of our body, and this leads to the other topic of depression that I wanted to cover. As these, you could think of this as like wealth or gold being, in our bodies, and us, not being able to move through a stressful event and just kind of rehearsing in our mind. If we could just clear that out, keep nutrients flowing in, we can keep heavy metals, which are the other side of the coin, really, from just building up in the body as easily. See, a lot of us have seen the movie 300, where they go shields up, right, to protect all 300, right? That's really what the electrical charge does for minerals. You create this matrix, that protects at a cellular level your cells from collecting as easily. I'm not going to say they don't collect at all, but they don't collect nearly as easily. And this is from a physics perspective, a physical chemistry perspective, and an organic chemistry perspective. All things I was trained in, very much a fact, and certainly not an opinion. All of this can be mathematically proven in proofs that take 7 to 10 pages. What you see, though, is this ineffability of, it's just, there's just one way to look at it, really. And that is, if we're not doing everything we can to figure out what it is that our body currently is missing and is currently overloaded with, like boron in the case of not being able to utilize estrogen as we can and should, both men and women, and therefore the relationship of testosterone coming into play. These are just quick examples. There's not enough time to go into any area specifically, but when you think about this, when you zoom in and when you both zoom in and zoom out, this is the root cause solution. As Carl Sagan said, we're all the stuff of exploded stars, and that's one way the universe. Therefore, we are one way the universe knows itself, which kind of gives me chills every time I think of it. But you look up in the stars at night, and yeah, that is where we came from. We are measurably what is on the periodic table. And we have to respect that. We have to pay homage to that. And we have to test it. And we have to supplement only what we need to the extent that we need it. And that we need to be retesting. And through that method, and through so many other methods that are also essential, we then can really be through the power of epigenetics, being, our genes are not our destiny. We're able to influence our genes. And through these things, we're able to, by optimizing our magnesium level and lithium level, we really begin to tackle depression at a root cause level, instead of medicine where we're just suppressing the issue. So I really hope that's helpful. I think that this is just a great area to dive in, and I'm so thankful to share this time with you and be able to share a bit of my expertise as a chemical engineer, as a nutritionist, and as a founder of Upgrade Formulas. I mean, this is really my life's work, and it's not just about this thing too. I think we need to be thinking both at a cell level and at a planet level to really affect change. And that's why we have the approach we have. And that is why I'm so passionate about giving these talks. And that's why we give a portion from every purchase on Upgrade Formulas to charitywater.org. They're a full transparency charity that we really believe in, that drills water wells around the world. This charity, 100% of what you donate goes to the well. Their biggest donors take care of their salaries, but 10 million or less goes straight toward drilling the well. So we're looking to do more and more work with them, and I really hope you'll support us in that mission as well. I think this is really, really important work, and as root causes go, clean water is really a human right, I believe. And without it, electricity doesn't really matter much. Sanitation doesn't really matter much. Diseases can be prevented. Tumors that grow in people's faces the size of watermelons, the doctors have to take their vacations to cut out of, thankfully. Those things never happen because these people now have, in about 20 countries right now and growing, now have access to sustainable clean water. We're not talking about water in a bottle, we're talking about drilling water wells and empowering people in the community. And it's something that you can tell I care a lot about, and I think you should, I'd love for you to, invite you to check that out as well. But them and just, Upgraded Formulas is the best way to find us. Thank you so much for your time. And if you're watching this, you're already someone that is, I think, a humanitarian at heart, because to care about yourself enough to do the hard work, which keto is not an easy diet in so many ways. It's kind of like walking a tightrope to really do it well. What we do is a major part of that. You can, of course, find more information on the website. If you also want to put in your email at the bottom of the website and just write or email us at care@upgraded formulas, you can put ebook in the subject, and we'll mail you our newest book on that for free that I wrote myself. That goes into this with more depth. Yeah, so just thank you in advance, because I think we all have to really pull together in this challenging time and in good times. And there will also be an article I'll put out soon on zinc and copper and how this really influences the viral and bacterial infections that will provide more depth in what I mentioned earlier. So without further ado, thank you for listening. And I'm Barton Scott. And yeah, I just think you guys are all super, super awesome. Thank you.